What is up, everybody? Today's episode, we're going to be giving some lessons from the Spartans, and I'm talking about the 300 Spartans that went to the Battle of Thermopylae to defend the hot gates. For those that don't know, I talk about Steven Pressfield, the author, all the time. He is my favorite. I love his books, and he wrote this book, Gates of Fire, which talks about that battle that the movie 300 was inspired by. So basically what you have here is you have 300 Spartans that are going to go there, and basically it's a suicide mission, right? They're taking on the Persians, but they have to slow the army down. And they found this little narrow gate. It's almost like a funnel. This one little pass funnels into a small area where it doesn't matter how many Persians there are, they have to form small lines to get through this pass. So they sent 300 Spartans there to pretty much put a plug in that gap, right, to slow down the Persians' advance. Now, there's a character in this book called Dienekes, and he has, a protege, Alexandros. And in conversation between the two, Dienekes shares with Alexandros that the room, so the brain is like a house with many rooms, and there's certain rooms that one must not go into. Anticipating one's death was one of those rooms. So those types of thoughts heading into battle were things that they wanted to avoid. So are things like anger, jealousy, resentment, all of those negative types of emotions. And Dienekes goes on to tell Alexandros, habit will be your champion. When you train the mind to think one way and one way only, when you refuse to allow it to think in another, that will produce great strength in battle. Now, when we look at the mind and when we look at some of those negative thoughts, I think back to when you have a young child, right? And you see they're 2 years old and they're freaking out. They have this massive tantrum. They are pissed off. They're aggravated. They don't know what these emotions are that they're feeling, but they are acting out in a way that is almost admirable, how fired up they get, right? So these kids here are acting out. They're feeling these emotions. They don't know what they are, right? Us as adults, we feel those same types of emotions, but we start to identify what they are. We could put a name on it, right? And there was a UCLA professor that was doing brain scans, and he identified that our brains are not lit up in the same way. We're not getting that same emotional response when we could express how we're feeling, when we could write down what the emotion is that we are feeling. So when jealousy comes on, when envy comes on, when some of those negative self-doubts come on, right? We need to identify what they are, write it down, okay? And then we can learn to come past it. Because remember, habit will be your champion. The more you could do this, you could turn that 2-hour frustrated response time down to 2 minutes, right? And then if you could do that, that's 1 hour and 58 minutes of your life that you kind of get now to be living in a better space. All right. So again, these negative behaviors will run wild. It's like an untamed beast if we don't get them under our control. We are in control of our emotions. We're in control of how we feel. If somebody says something to you that's mean, you are in control of how you respond to that. And each and every day, habit's going to be your champion. We can make slow and steady improvements on how we feel. We have the ancient Spartans to thank for some of this. We have modern research for this UCLA professor doing the brain scans, right? It confirms what the Spartans knew, okay? We control our mind. There's certain rooms we want to avoid. So let's avoid those rooms by staying in good habits. Peace, everybody.